If world's dumbest criminals was indeed a thing, well, actually, I think it is a thing. So let me rephrase that. Since world's dumbest criminals is indeed a thing, this person I'm about to talk about definitely earned his spot on that long list of dumbass criminals. So, in this picture, you see a man by the name of Jesse Kipf, and this man faked his own death because he was trying to avoid paying child support. And by him doing that, he is now sentenced to over 6 years in prison. It's actually titled, "Man Who Faked Own Death by Hacking into a Death Registry to Avoid Paying Child Support is Sentenced to Over 6 Years in Prison." Like, look at what he went through and just to avoid or get out of paying child support. A Kentucky man who faked his own death by hacking into a death registry to avoid paying child support was sentenced to over 6 years in prison on Monday, according to a release from the U.S. Attorney's Office of the Eastern District of Kentucky. Jesse Kipf accessed the Hawaii Death Registry system in January of 2023 using the username and password of a physician living in another state to create a quote-unquote case for his own death, according to his plea agreement. So he was dumb even in that aspect. He used the username and password of a physician who was alive and living in another state in order to try to pull this scheme off. He then completed a death certificate worksheet, assigned himself as the medical certifier for the case, and certified his death using the digital signature of the doctor. This resulted in Kipf being registered as a deceased person in many government databases, according to the release. Kipf admitted he faked his own death in part to avoid his outstanding child support obligations. "We respect the court's decision," Kipf's attorney Tom Michelli told CNN. Using credentials he stole from real people, Kipf also infiltrated other states' death registry systems, private business networks, along with governmental and corporate networks, then tried to sell access to the networks on the dark net or the dark web, according to officials. Kipf was sentenced to 81 months in prison on Monday and is required to serve 85% of his prison sentence under federal law. After he is released, he'll be under the supervision of the U.S. Probation Office for 3 years, the release said. This scheme was a cynical and destructive effort based in part on the inexcusable goal of avoiding his child support obligations, said Carlton S. Scheer, the fourth U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Kentucky. This case is a stark reminder of how damaging criminals with computers can be and how critically important computer and online security is to us all. So it wasn't enough for him to fake his death to avoid paying his child support payments or his child support obligations. It's the fact that this guy literally hacked a computer system to do what he did, and it literally affected other people. Of course, he didn't care. All he in that moment was caring about himself. That was him being very selfish. All he thought about was like, look, I got these outstanding child support payments, and when they say outstanding, that just simply means this man wasn't paying a dime. So that means when he was getting that monthly, he wasn't putting into it. He was withholding the money. Now, I don't know what this guy's employment status is or not, but let's say he was employed, and if he knew, and the thing is not like you don't know you have to pay it because you literally had to go to court. It's not like they say, hey, this month you got to start paying child support. No, it's a whole process of going to court, and they have to grant the mother the access to child support from the father. It's not like he got hit over the head and didn't know, or he got caught by surprise. He knew. He just decided, I'm not going to pay it. I'm just going to keep all the money, and then to get out of it, I'm going to fake my death, which means, let's just hypothetically say his scheme went as far as it did. Let's just say that he was able to go real far with it and not get caught. Like, say that he didn't get caught, or maybe he didn't caught until maybe over a year later. That means he would have kept all his money. He would have kept all the money coming into him. I don't know how that would have worked, considering like you claim to be dead. Like he would have had to go and change his whole identity. He would have had to go under a whole new name and all that, which is possible. It's a process that you have to do, and then you be under a new identity. He probably have to leave the state that he's in and go to a place where no one knows who he is, and then start working to get money that way, while the child support literally gets cut off. So he literally didn't think all of this through, But the part that got him really over the 6 years is not necessarily just him not paying the child support. It's the fact that he faked his death and hacked a computer, put in a death registry, created his own death certificate, used the physician's username and password to do it, and some other things that affect cybersecurity to do what he did. That's where the over 6 years really, well, the meat of it really comes from him doing that. This guy is not too bright, and guess what? Guess what? He might still have to end up paying child support. I don't know how it works behind bars. If you still have to pay behind bars, someone can let me know how that works. But he'll probably still have to end up paying. So he did all of that for nothing. And he's probably going to have to pay another fine for the hacking. Like, he could have really messed some people up by doing that. But again, he didn't care. In that moment, all he thought about was himself and how he can get out of the situation that he put himself into.